What should men pay attention to at the very beginning of getting to know a woman and starting a relationship? What mistakes do we, as men, make? Which warning signs and signals do we miss right from the start? Suppose you meet a woman. What do you notice immediately? What should you pay attention to? First, lateness. She is constantly late. The first date, the second, the third. She makes you wait. If a woman does not call, does not text, does not warn you, that is a warning signal. Respect is already gone. Compensation at your expense has already begun. She elevates her importance, involves you in waiting, lifts you on a dopamine wave. Our dopamine is produced from anticipation, and she creates this peak by linking it to herself. In simpler terms, she anchors you to a high level of dopamine associated specifically with her. Therefore, the first thing to notice is systematic lateness and lack of basic notification. Second, initiative. We men often say, I want initiative. I expect her to take initiative. But sometimes a woman is overly proactive. She decides when, where, why. Let's go there. Today we go here. She calls herself, texts herself. After the first date, you may not be particularly interested yet, but she persistently calls. Let's go there. Let's go here. Such initiative can easily turn into a scenario extremely disadvantageous for you. From my experience, through consultations with clients, this is what it looks like. Highly proactive women on their own initiative quickly introduce you to their families, rush into your home, leave their belongings, quickly integrate into your inner circle. Then, just as quickly, they independently decide to become pregnant. A man marries because he considers himself noble. He didn't really want to, but he had to. It's not even that he liked her particularly. She simply did everything herself. There, here, and your decisions were nowhere considered. As a result, you end up drawn into family life. One child is born, you haven't even processed it, and she independently becomes pregnant a second time. You understand how this often plays out yourself. Nothing good comes of it. The question of breakup and catastrophe in such a family is only a matter of time. Why? Because as soon as you start resisting this total initiative, straighten your shoulders and say, no, you get a harsh pushback. And if you fully give over the initiative and think, well, it is what it is, I got this commander-type woman, such commanders quickly get disappointed. She decided she found a weak, uninitiated man and immediately starts blaming you for it. Why can't you say no? Where is your no? Are you a man or not? Real men don't act like this. Think for yourself. Don't you understand? Can't you make a decision? Don't take responsibility. Accusing, guilt, and manipulation come into play. Such relationships also very often break down. Of course, there are always exceptions. Subscribers and clients constantly remind me, I know other cases. Anything can happen, but we are talking about the average, the mean temperature of the ward. From my experience, it's exactly like this. Overly proactive women who immediately take the relationship into their own hands eventually exhaust their partner. If you don't agree with such a scenario, notice it immediately. It's different if you are the type of man fully immersed in work, science, and it suits you. Let her make all the decisions. We live and it's fine. Then you consciously choose this model, but still, keep your eyes open. Third, intrusiveness. The woman is overly intrusive. She calls herself, texts herself, doesn't leave you alone, floods you with SMS, sends photos and pictures. She sticks immediately. You get tired of this quickly. If the relationship continues and goes further, she starts to isolate. She clings so much that it leads to merging and boundary violation. She pushes all your boundaries out. Only she remains. As a result, it becomes suffocating around you.
What does this look like in everyday life? Excessive intrusiveness. You didn't expect it, didn't ask for it, you're already tired, and yet it's endless. How are you? What are you doing? How's your mood? What did you eat? What did you do? Who did you call? Where did you go? Calls without end. Moreover, she shows up at your work. Moreover, she comes to your home. And I know cases like this too. A man has just met her, had only one date, didn't plan to continue the relationship, casually mentioned where he works, and the woman shows up at his workplace, behaving as if they are already a couple, as if he is her man. The poor man doesn't know where to go. Then, her initiative gains momentum, and everything else follows the same pattern. Next, what else should you look for at the beginning of a relationship? How quickly a woman moves toward merging. Here's what it looks like. 1 or 2 dates, not even sex yet, and she's already calling you, sweetheart, my love, darling. And then begins this intimacy that shouldn't exist yet. She starts giving you advances. Good morning, my love. How are you, darling? My sweet. And here you need to be cautious. Psychologically, it's simple. A person begins to respond to the advances given. A woman calls you her beloved, and subconsciously you start trying to live up to that image. You want to meet her expectations. Be kind, be loved, be generous, be the best. Even though you haven't made any decisions about a serious relationship. Just 1 date, 2 dates, and already, darling, my love. In this subtle way, you are drawn into a relationship without realizing it. Of course, there are stories when it's mutual, when it clicks, and from the first time everything is clear. The man and women never part. We've all heard of such exceptions, but these are precisely exceptions. In normal life, such rapid advances should raise concern. Next, the opposite of intrusiveness is when a woman suddenly disappears. Yesterday, she was responding immediately, lively, emotional, connected, and then suddenly, gone. Half a day, 2, 3, and then she reappears. This is called closer farther. She manipulates your emotions. First she's close, everything is perfect, and then gone. You experience a sharp hormonal drop. Initially, a high level of dopamine, joy hormones, and then a sudden low point. You start thinking, what did I do wrong? Where did I fail? What is the reason? And the significance of this woman in your mind quickly rises. We value what we lose. She creates small losses intentionally. Or, for example, she responds to your messages in 2, 3, 5, 6 hours, or even half a day later. If it's not due to work, where it's impossible to be distracted, she's not a surgeon in the operating room, not a dispatcher at a control panel, then it's not about being busy. Either her significance to you is low, and she replies whenever she feels like it, or it's also an element of manipulation. Both scenarios should raise concern. Next, watch when a woman generalizes, like all men are like that, all women are like that, all jobs are bad, or all men are jerks, but you're an exception. All women are like that, but I'm a queen. Such generalizations are a warning signal, because later she will put you in the same category. Today, all men are greedy, tomorrow you become the greedy jerk. Also pay attention to how she talks about exes. If she badmouths them, that's bad. It means she will likely do the same with you. A relationship always involves 2 people, with both positives and negatives. If she only sees negatives and pours out insults, know that later you will be the ex-scoundrel. On the other hand, if she starts praising her ex, that's not good. He was so good, he bought me gifts, gave me presents, drove me around, arranged surprises. And then adds, but I left because I didn't love him. Seems honest, but in essence, she puts you into comparison, as if saying, look who I had, raise your standard and match it. This is how he did it, now do the same but even more so I will love you. This is a direct way to elevate her significance at your expense.
How should it be done correctly? At the beginning of a relationship, an appropriate answer to a question about exes sounds like this. Well, it happened. There were good times, bad times. It all happened. We separated for reasons. That's it. No mudslinging, no praise. Later, when the relationship becomes closer, you can discuss details, grievances, nuances, but at the start, under no circumstances. Another point. If a woman goes into full adaptation, whatever you say, she agrees. I like this, me too. I love this cuisine, me too. This music is great, I think so too. Constant, yes, yes, yes. We are one. We found each other. We are one being together. This is already a violation of personal boundaries. This is not sincerity. This is adaptation. Very often, this is a trait of a narcissistic personality. At first, she will fill your entire space and then suddenly push away, from the clouds to the dirt. And another important warning sign, constant arguments. If a woman argues about every little thing, insists on her point of view, if she always has an opinion, prepare yourself. It will continue, only stronger. It's an endless struggle over whose slippers are in the house. Constant tug of war over the blanket. Attempting to dominate, attempting to always place her opinion above yours. Arguments just for the sake of arguing. Of course, this indicates a high level of masculine energy in a woman. Women like this are difficult, and it's visible immediately, even at the start of the acquaintance. On the first date, it's already noticeable. She says, "Nope, I want it this way. I don't agree." This is the direct opposite of complete merging, and here it's important to find a golden mean. On one side, complete merging. On the other, I am not like that. I argue. I insist on my point of view. I want something different. You tell her about one thing, she tells you about another. You invite her to eat. She says, "Nope, I don't want pizza today." You invite her for meat. She says, "I don't eat meat." You invite her to the cinema. She says, "I don't want a romance. I want a horror movie." And it continues constantly. Constant confrontation. Such relationships are very difficult, and this almost always appears from the beginning. But men close their eyes to it because all of this seems cute at the start. And the fact that she doesn't call back or goes cold, the man thinks, well, we're not that close yet. That she's too merging? Well, that's because she loves strongly. And all this seems cute to us. We found each other. We are two halves of one whole. But this is exactly what deserves attention. What seems cute at the beginning often turns into problems later. And also, remember, if something annoys you at the start of a relationship, even a little, even a tiny note of irritation appears, that kernel will over time grow into a huge fruit. A small problem turns into a big catastrophe. Very often men tell me, "It pricked me at first. I noticed it. It irritated me, provoked protest, but I stayed silent. I thought, maybe it's me. Maybe she's right." So there is no point in guessing who is right, who is wrong. The fact is, if it bothers you, later it will become an irreconcilable conflict. Therefore, it's better to discuss everything at the beginning. If it doesn't go away, isn't resolved, draw conclusions. Next, look at the woman's environment, at her friends, because a king or queen is made by their entourage. Tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. If her friends are escorts or Instagram girls or those who spend all day gossiping about men, draw conclusions. People attract each other based on interests. A family-oriented woman will not have escort friends. A normal woman will not have friends who drink on the bench every day or boast about how they seduced another man. This apple always falls from its tree. Look at what tree this apple comes from.
The same applies to family. Pay particular attention to the presence of a father. A woman who grew up without a father often knows how to charm a man very quickly. She enters a relationship vividly, gives a lot of advances, promises everything at once. But living life afterward, she doesn't know how. I have seen many like this. They enter relationships beautifully, but then it becomes boring, uninteresting. They don't know how to interact with a man in everyday life. During the honeymoon phase, everything is perfect. Hormones, emotions, courtship. The man is loved, valued, respected, but hormones inevitably decline. Everyday life enters the relationship, and there, a failure. That's where they no longer know how to behave. Complaints begin. You have changed, you become boring, you give too little attention, I don't have enough emotions. They need a constant celebration, but they don't understand ordinary life, that a man just needs to come home, relax, lie on the couch, and think of nothing. They don't understand this. They expect the man to entertain them all the time. And when that doesn't happen, they think the love is gone, and then accusations and devaluation begin. And one more point. Watch the generational patterns. Look at the woman's father and maternal grandfather, because a man almost always fits into her generational program. If the grandfather was henpecked or an alcoholic, the father is the same, your fate will likely be similar. The woman has adopted this scenario and will replay it on you.
Observe how the grandmother followed the maternal program, how her mother continued it. If this repeats from generation to generation, the program is strong, and you will be drawn into the same scenario. If the grandfather was a strong man, if the father was normal, even if the stepfather was an adequate man in the family, most likely the woman's model of relationships with a man will be the same. Watch, how did her mother and grandmother treat their men? With what attitude did they communicate? With respect, trust, requests, or through manipulation, complaints, a you must, you are guilty, you don't measure up, all men are jerks approach? From this, you can also understand what scenario awaits you. If things there, I don't know, or it's bad, going home. Don't expect anything good from them. Also pay attention to the family values. If the family has traditions, if they gather together, if they have an all-for-one and one-for-all atmosphere, this is a strong, cohesive system. It means family is truly important to the woman. This is a good sign. But if, on the contrary, the family constantly quarrels, everyone fights with each other, no one communicates, only schemes, takes revenge, asserts themselves at the expense of others, doing wrongs for profit, draw conclusions. That's completely different. One scenario is when the family is friendly. They gather for holidays, help each other financially, provide psychological support, ready to shelter someone and give their last. Another, when everyone is for themselves, no warmth, only conflicts. A woman who grew up in the context of strong family traditions, this is a completely different matter. Next, try to immediately observe, is the woman a plus or a minus? It is visible right away in her reactions, how touchy she is, how responsive, how she communicates with people, even small things like talking to waiters, salespeople, on the phone. Does she behave condescendingly, patronizingly, aggressively? Does she attack? Constantly dissatisfied with something. Everything is wrong. Very often men say, at the beginning of a relationship, they went to a restaurant with a woman. She doesn't like anything. They go to another. The same. Third, still everything is wrong. Food is bad. Waiters are idiots. The crowd is not right. Then the city is somehow not right. Then she was rude to someone. Then she got offended. Then aggression again. This is a minus woman. Watch her quick temper. Hot-tempered women often turn out to be psychopaths. At the start of a relationship during the demo phase, when only the best is usually shown, if at this stage touchiness, irritability, hysteria, inconsistency appear, later it will blossom fully.
And here, a plus woman is completely different. She smooths the edges, is friendly, feels comfortable in any company, knows how to joke, and enjoys herself everywhere. Even if a dish turns out poorly, she treats it with humor. Well, it's okay, it happens. Around such a woman, there is also positivity, good friends, easygoing communication. And here, men often make a mistake. They see a minus in a woman and begin to blame themselves. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe she didn't like me. Maybe something is wrong with me. And they start to try jokes, humor, attention. And she becomes sourer and sourer. The man's self-esteem drops and he thinks, it's my fault. No, my friend, it's not you. Something is wrong with her. She's simply a minus woman. Very often men don't understand how to interact with a woman. What should they say? How should they behave? And here it is important to build a firm masculine position, because a woman will always probe you, always, to check, is this the right man? Is he strong enough? Does he meet my expectations? By default, a woman will make such probes. Therefore, relationships must be built from a firm masculine position. Now, an important point. If a woman already starts setting conditions at the very beginning of the relationship, the first days, the first weeks of acquaintance, and already it sounds like, if you go there, I won't go. If you don't do it this way, I will leave. Me or your friends. If you don't go with me, I will go alone. This is unacceptable. This is violence. This is aggression. And over time, it will only intensify. Very often, men deceive themselves. The main thing now is to drag her into a relationship, and later I will teach her. Later she will be different. This is a huge mistake. No one changes anyone later. Also, look at how the woman spends her free time. What are her habits? If all her free time is empty chats with friends, social media, bars, clubs, endless shopping, draw conclusions. If the habit is constantly photographing herself, posting everything, chatting with anyone, laughing crudely with girlfriends, all this will enter your life. Today it seems cute, tomorrow it will start to annoy. It is different if she has adequate habits, sports, a dog, books, courses, self-improvement. Here you already considered what is acceptable to you. For example, for some it is normal that a woman spends time with her mother. For others, it is outrageous. For some, having tarot as a hobby is fine. For others, absolutely not. Observe immediately. And also, bad habits. I very often see, at the beginning of a relationship, a woman drinks more than the man. The man a glass of beer and she 3. Then cognac, then something else. And so on constantly. Or smoking. She may say, I already quit, but my friend, don't deceive yourself. Once she quit, she will start again. Men think, she won't drink with me, I won't let her, I will stop her smoking. You won't. Bad habits can only be eliminated when a person decides to give them up themselves. If the woman understands, I quit smoking because it is unacceptable for my man, I want to be with him, then yes, there's a chance. But if she does not make this decision herself, forget it. Ask yourself one question, is this acceptable to you or not? And decide immediately. Do not indulge yourself with illusions that later you will set conditions and force her to accept your choice. It will not work, my friends. It will not work. I also want to touch on the topic of sex, sexual constitution. Look, if a woman has a high sexual constitution, it is visible immediately. She's always ready for sex, any day and any night. She's active, often has multiple orgasms. At first, the man rejoices, I got her, Cleopatra. But often this turns into the fact that she does not limit herself to one partner. Keep this in mind. If a woman has a low sexual constitution at the beginning of the relationship, this is also visible. Morning, day, evening, little enthusiasm, almost no initiative, as if sluggish. The man thinks, well, good, she's faithful, not promiscuous. But often it plays out that there is very little sex at all, and the man feels unloved, unnecessary, as if they expect a favor from him. Come on, spread your legs. I'll do this for you. The man gets offended. Why is it like this? Am I not a man? He wants initiative, wants the woman to show herself.
Both high and low levels of sexual desire can play out not in the best way. With a plus woman, we often tolerate, but the minuses must be observed in advance, how they will turn into problems. If a woman has high desire and the partner experiences fatigue or erectile difficulties, pressure and accusations are inevitable. You're not a man, you're incapable, and the man fails psychologically. Self-esteem drops, stress further reduces libido, and the cycle closes. The woman, in turn, may seek compensation outside of the relationship. Conversely, if the sexual constitution is low, constant shortening of intimate life also destroys connection. Attitude toward money is another important marker. Pay attention. Can she share? Does she pay for herself? How does she react if you forget your wallet? Sometimes a woman positions herself as a little queen. My ex gave me so much, I got used to that level. But when it comes to everyday trivialities, put 200 rubles on my phone, buy me coffee, buy me underwear, it's a different story. Another topic is when everything revolves around money. Money, 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 on every subject. If a person revolves entirely around money, it says a lot. Do not underestimate money. It's not just paper. Money is your time, your effort, your investments, sleepless nights, education, risks. And if someone constantly tries to demand from you, think carefully. If a woman says, I don't need anything, remember, often it's the opposite. Female psychology likes to act contrary. The words, I don't need anything, sometimes mask a demand. Pay attention to I'm needed by everyone behavior, to displays of being wanted. Everyone wants me back. They promise me golden mountains. If a woman constantly elevates her significance in this way, it's artificial. Most often, such a woman has low self-esteem, and she tries to reinforce it with external signals. Men take this at face value and begin to exaggerate the significance of this woman in their minds. Track this consciously. Jealousy provocations are a separate tactic. The woman takes actions meant to stir you up, and if you react, it will always be used. The scenario, everyone wants me. Grab me, otherwise someone else will. The man panics, rushes, starts taking extra steps, and that is exactly what she wants from him. Remember, jealousy provocations are a marker of manipulation. Also, be attentive to how quickly she introduces you to her family. Before you've had time to think, you're already invited to her parents, shown family albums, told about future grandchildren, discussing the veil and wedding. If you are not ready, say no. Often, at such family gatherings, you are cornered and pressed into a decision. A dozen relatives watch, and the man feels pressured. So when is the wedding? Do not give in to panic. Maintain boundaries. When the time comes, we will decide then. Manipulations are another important point. If from the very beginning there are tactics like, "I'm offended and won't talk," "You're a decent person," "You should understand," "You're a real man," all of this is ways to push you into an action you weren't ready for. The most common mechanisms: instilling guilt, sexual manipulation, intimidation, "You could lose me." If this appears at the start, it is the family style, and it will not change by the flick of your will. And lastly, what I want to say, your objective significance should be roughly equal to or slightly higher than hers. When there is a large social or material gap between partners, it usually plays out poorly. If a man has high objective significance, education, income, status, hobbies, friends, and the woman's story is completely different, manipulations, complaints, and attempts to compensate at your expense often start. Very rarely does one partner pull upwards, much more often they pull down. Therefore, choose a partner from the same layer. Let the woman be roughly at the same level as you. I believe a man should be slightly higher, but within the same social and mental layer. Then there is less chance of chronic conflicts due to different needs, different levels of education, and different life understanding. These are the beacons to pay attention to at the beginning of a relationship. Men often turn a blind eye to many things, but forewarned is forearmed. Watch the signs. 1 click is 1, 2 clicks is 2, 3 clicks is 3, and you will build a more realistic picture of the situation, not illusions. Thank you to everyone who liked and subscribed to the channel. What do you think about this? Write in the comments and see you in the next video.